That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
It's funny, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport.
Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So we have to talk about LeBron James. Now social media is in an uproar because he said he don't know why ring culture has so much value when evaluating players' all-time career, right? And we seen LeBron leave Cleveland, go to Miami in pursuit of rings, come back to Cleveland, to get that ring with them, which was pretty impressive. They had K-Love and Kyrie, but it wasn't like a super team. Then he goes to LA, gets AD, another top 5 player at the time, to come play with him and to get more rings. And now, looking at it, I remember LeBron saying he was chasing a ghost in Chicago. And he was chasing Michael Jordan. But it looks like he's not going to get to that 6th ring. And he has the most all-time points. He has certain stats, that favors him over his extended career. But, I think it almost feels like when LeBron sits down and has these conversations, it's like shaping narratives, because he's still saying that the people that thought Jordan was the GOAT before he hit these milestones still feel the same way. And so, I don't see no need to say this. We're going to get into exactly what LeBron said. Charles Barkley already spoke on this, and we're going to get into Paul Pierce's firing back at LeBron. Let's check it out.
It's funny, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. You sit here and you tell me, Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley and Steve Nash, are fucking wasn't unbelievable. Like, oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys is because this guy won 1 ring or won 2 rings or won, like, it's just weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 1 ring. They don't never discuss that in their sport.
Right.
Or telling me that Dan Marino is not the greatest slinger of all time, or he can't be in the room with those guys because he didn't win a championship.
Yeah.
So you can't sit here and tell me that, okay, well, because he only won 1, the guy can't be in the same room with the guy who won 2 or 3 or 4. Like, why not? This guy, he's our logo.
Now, Chuck has spoke on this before. Ironically enough, LeBron listed Chuck, saying that you can't say he isn't the same caliber player as some of these guys. And Chuck was on All the Smoke podcast, and he gave his take on this. And this is what he had to say about it.
But those are the rules. It's like my rules. Hey, I'm in the Hall of Fame, but I'm in a different wing than the guys who won the championship. I mean,
still in the Hall of Fame, though.
I know, yeah, but I'm saying, though, Jack, hey, I understand. I understand the rules. Like, Charles are great. Karl Malone's great. Patrick Ewing's great. They're not at the table with Magic, Bird, LeBron, Kobe. It's levels to this shit. And I ain't mad at that. I understand that. Now, if I could have won a championship, I can go across the room. But the rules are the rules. We have to play by the rules. And this ain't got nothing with motherfuckers on TV who get paid to talk shit. We talking about players.
Right.
We talking about players. We understand, hey, I'm not at the table with Bird and Magic, those guys. Hey, yeah, am I a great player? Yes, I am. I understand that. But there are levels and there's tables to this thing.
And now we have so many people responding in real time. Stephen A. Smith, Rob Parker, everybody's kind of going in on LeBron James. And Paul Pierce, he appeared on Speak on FS1, and he has something to say about it, man. He had, there's no love lost between him and LeBron, but, he gives his honest take on it. And I think Paul Pierce did a good job delivering it. And I'm going to give you my thoughts at the end of this. Let's check it out.
Well, there has to be a measuring stick. And why do we play the game? Is it for the fame? Is it for the fortune? Because as a kid, you played to win. And you were always measured on how much you won. And sports will always be that way. Now, I remember LeBron left Cleveland to chase rings in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't that about trying to get a ring?
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Right? Because he was trying to fulfill his legacy. And same with Kevin Durant. So it just begs the question, like I said earlier, why do we play? You know, is it for fun? Is it for money? Is it for fame? Because I've always played to win, to be the best. And that's how we are measured as individuals, because when you are winning rings, it's proven that you are the best. And so it's kind of hypocritical for Bron to kind of say this, being that he went to Miami, then back to Cleveland, then to LA in search of rings. And that's how we measure sports across the board. In order to be the greatest, yeah, you can have all these. I could be on a bad team and have all the individual stats, but it doesn't make you great if you don't win. And that's why we measure players to that degree on how much you win and how many rings or trophies you got. It's all measured, and there is levels to this. You can't come to the Truth Lounge and just get in the VIP. You know, it's certain status that you got to have or a certain type of bankroll. Same in sports. It just is what it is. Some players are general admission. Some players are VIP. And then you got others who are VIP. And that's the upper echelon. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, man. So Paul Pierce, you know, he puts this about the best way you can put it. It is what it is. Charles Barkley pretty much agreed with what Paul Pierce was saying. You know, they said basically the same thing. It's about your legacy and all that. I look at someone like Dominique Wilkins, and that would be like the argument for LeBron James, one of the most terrific small forwards I've ever seen. I remember what him and Bird matchups looked like, and I remember Bird just having a far superior team, you know, and Dominique taking them, 6-7 games, you know. So I know that plays a part into it, what organization you're with and stuff like that. But when you are an elite player and you're in a good situation, you think about Charles Barkley, that team he had with Kevin Johnson, Marley and them. You know, they lost to the Bulls, but you had the opportunity to win a title because your team was extremely good. You know, Karl Malone and those guys, Jordan stopped a lot of people from eating. Hakeem took advantage when Jordan was out that time, which I still think would have been a good matchup because Hakeem was the truth, and that was the type of matchup that the Bulls hadn't seen as well. So I think that would have been a good matchup, you know, but Hakeem is able to etch his name in those history books in a different way because he took advantage of that window, and he won both of them in that window. You see what I'm saying? So that was their time to get a ring. You know, Malone, Barkley, you couldn't use the Jordan excuse. Ewing, David Robinson, you know, and David Robinson ended up getting one later, but and that's another thing, right? He didn't get the ring in his prime. He got the ring with Duncan being the guy. So you do have to look at rings differently too. Like, did you get it as the guy in your prime, or did you just, you know, get it later on? Did you get it like Peyton got it in Miami? You know what I'm saying? You got to look at things like that. And so, yeah, man, I don't know. Ring culture, I think it has become a bit toxic, and I'll say in this way that I'm about to say. When Stephen A. Smith says Giannis is an underachiever, and he done got a ring, I think at that point, that's where ring culture kind of becomes toxic. When you're talking about in Milwaukee, it ain't like it's Kobe and Shaq and they got one ring, you know, during their time together. Now that would have been underachieving a little bit. After, say, if the Lakers got that very first ring they got and they never got back, never won again, there was no injuries or anything. They just was losing to Sacramento. They lost to KG and Malik Sealy and those guys in the playoffs. Say if they would have just lost, you know, first, second round after that, that would have been like underachieving. But Giannis in Milwaukee, nah, man. The fact that they got one ring is crazy. So yeah, man, I feel like it's a differentiator, right, amongst the elite players who are with a good franchise and they have the pieces around them. A lot goes into a championship when you start talking about front office, coaching, and, you know, personnel. I mean, it's everything, right? It even goes as far as the training room and everything else. But LeBron, you know, him talking about ring culture specifically is my issue. because he was very well aware that he needed to win those rings, or he would have just stayed in Cleveland the first time. You know, maybe he would have went to LA later in his career, but the Miami portion of his career, that was never needed. You know, if it wasn't about rings. And I know he tried to distance himself and kind of his legacy from Miami at one point where he said he would still be who he is without Miami. And with that, he even had Shannon Sharp, who refuses to go against him most of the times going against him. You know, and that's just because no way, shape, or form is your career the same without Miami. And I've never been one that said LeBron had to stay in Cleveland per se. He just needed to go to a team that he got over the hump in a way who hadn't won in a long time. He didn't need to go to Wade, who had recently won a Finals MVP and won his title before him. That was the whole issue with Miami at the time. But at this point, we're not even talking about it no more. And so why is LeBron bringing up these things and trying to shape shift narratives? That's just my issue with him, man. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.